I'm T. Rick Jones. I'm the managing editor.
I'm Chris Post, a contributing writer.
I'm Tony Tellado, host of Sci-Fi Talk podcast.
And I'm Subrina Wood, co-host of the Sci-Fi Sister podcast.
And this is your daily Star Trek news roundup for the week of May 26, 2024. Now, after Book and Burnham are whisked away on another adventure, which I can only assume we were going to find out about in season 6, but we never will now. We cut to, doesn't say how many decades later, but I'd say probably 3 decades later, maybe. It can't be, because Burnham has a son now, so it can't be just 20 years later, because he's already a captain in Starfleet. So it's got to be a little bit longer than that. But anyway, we get to see Sonequa in old age makeup, and then we get to see David in old age makeup. And they are apparently, what you do when you retire from Starfleet is you become a homesteader. We've seen that with Kirk in the Nexus. We've seen that with who else am I thinking of? Well,
Chateau.
Yeah, right.
Not exactly.
Picard, yeah.
Not exactly, but he's getting back to the Earth. You basically go and farm and build fences when you've been in Starfleet. Okay.
Well, yeah, Captain Pike already has his homestead, and he's still active duty. But when he's on leave, he's in Montana or wherever,
exactly.
Riding horses and
making pancakes.
Exactly. This is what you do when you've been in Starfleet. So Wax accidentally puts Book, that's his name, Book, accidentally puts wax in Burnham's coffee. That was kind of a fun, cute relationshipy moment. And then she goes out and builds a fence. This strange alien deer-like creature shows up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I did not. I don't know about you guys. I did not love that design. I thought it looked too out. Why make it look like a deer if you're gonna? I don't know. It was a very strange
feathers and stuff. It was like, wow, what is going on? A fever dream.
And then their son shows up, and he whisks Burnham off to the Discovery, where she's gonna take it somewhere and leave it. We know from the short trek that premiered 6 years ago, something like that, that Zora Discovery is going to be waiting for 1,000 years. Nobody knows. Burnham doesn't know what her mission is. Zora doesn't know what her mission is, but the word craft is mentioned. And then there's a flashback to the whole crew, and saying their goodbyes basically. And then Burnham says, "Let's fly," and the series ends.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a few things I want to unpack with this. The first one is, where do I want to go first? I guess, was this a fitting ending for the series? Subrina, I think it's your favorite Star Trek series, right? Am I correct about that?
It's tied with DS9, but
okay.
DS9 right. The show, but this is the sister show. Hey, this is the sister show.
That's right.
And this show actually has a very emotional tie to the Sci-Fi Sisters, because this show actually birthed us. So we came into existence because of Sonequa Martin Green and this show. So we're very, we started informally defending her on different platforms, and then formed friendships from that. Fran and I became friends, and then we met up at AwesomeCon, and then we kind of got iced out of a panel, and AwesomeCon just couldn't ask enough questions about it. We were asking all these other questions, and we were so upset. We came out and said, this will never happen again. We're just going to make our own platform, and we're going to talk about whatever we want to talk about all day long. And what we want to talk about is Sonequa Martin Green and Discovery. And a bunch of other stuff, but it has been a ride. So yes, this show, that ending really spoke to us. Like I said, we thank Michelle Paradise for it, and I was glad that she got booked. I was glad that she was an admiral. I was glad, it is canon now. You can't take it away. You can say whatever you want, but she just saved the whole universe.
Yeah.
saved the Breen from getting the stuff and blowing everybody up. So,
Mhm.
How about you, Tony? What's your take on the end of the series?
I mean, what I reflect on is the fact that this character was pretty much on her way to jail, and look what ended up happening for her. She has that great line about second chances that I really liked. Never had a character like this in Star Trek. What I love about this and during the course of the series is how Burnham wears her heart on her sleeve, and it shows in her relationships with her crew. And I thought that was really good. It was really a great part of Star Trek. Yeah, I was very happy that she ended up with Book. I really do. I thought that was great. And to meet her son, and she is going to close off her career in Starfleet. I think that's where she belongs, and it just completes the cycle so well. I do have one pet peeve about that part of it, and the fact that we did see all the crew at the end as their younger selves. I was I was like, I hated it, not hated, but I didn't like that the supporting cast didn't get their goodbyes too. And it was like, what's going to happen with Stamets and Cole? Tilly, and they've been dancing around this as far as her appearing in Starfleet Academy, but she's going to be there. So I wanted to know what those folks were going to do. So I'm hoping that in Starfleet Academy, we'll see some of them drop by, as I mentioned earlier, and say, "Hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that." It'd be great to see them, together, or just parts of the crew together. But other than that, I thought, I liked it a lot. I love their relationship and how it's grown during the course of the few years. So it was very satisfying. Just I wish I would have seen a little more of the rest of the gang and what they were doing.
I agree with that. I actually sort of agree with that. I provisionally agree with that. I That's what I thought the first time I watched it too. I was like, oh yeah, I kind of wish that each crew member had gotten their due. I was really glad to see Detmer and Oessa come back. I don't know why they wrote them out after episode 4 of this season, but it was great to see them back. Do you know, or do you just?
so Michelle Paradise said that it was a scheduling conflicts with them,
Oh
and
wow!
when
That's
they thought they had more time, that they were going to
Yeah.
bring them back, and
yeah.
then they found out they were canceled. So it was like, oh my god! So they had to rush them in for the last. So a lot of it was rushed. A
Yeah.
lot of it was rushed. A lot of people thought there was another season, so it wasn't that they were written out, even though that's how it looked. They were gonna come back, and they were never like off this crew, off the ship. But unfortunately, with the cancellation, it just ended up looking that way.
That's kind of what I thought, because that's what happened to Saru mid season too. He was out for a large chunk because of scheduling.
Right.
But the second time I watched it, I was like, though, this show has always been about Burnham, so it's fitting that it ends with Burnham and the Discovery. I did miss the goodbyes, of course, as you say, Tilly. I'm sure that mentor program that she mentions is going to be brought up in the Star Trek. I'm sure that wasn't just randomly there. I'm sure that's something that they're working on for Starfleet Academy. But I thought it was actually quite fitting after I considered it for a bit that the show ended with the Discovery, for which it's named, and with Burnham. Those were. It's basically the whole show is about Burnham's journey. She starts as a
Hmm.
engineer,
Yeah.
then ends up as a captain, in completely different centuries. So, I actually wound up thinking that was quite fitting. Chris, what did you think of the series finale?
Well, I liked it. So as maybe the contrary opinion here, I don't need to know what happened to every character. I don't need it spelled out for me. I don't need it wrapped up in a bow. I like to have my own thoughts about what those characters went on to do. And if they don't tell me, then my headcanon is what happened, and so I'm happy with that. But you're absolutely right. Most Star Trek shows are ensemble casts, and we follow many characters. We spend time with them. Like if we look back at like TNG or DS9 or Voyager, there were there were Geordi episodes, there were Data episodes, there were Miles O'Brien episodes. That didn't happen with Discovery. Discovery really was everybody is in support of Michael Burnham. It's her show, and it's really following her arc. I mean, when we do the time jump, Michael lands first, and we follow her around for an episode with none of the rest of the crew. It's Michael is there trying to figure out what's going on. And then the crew shows up, and she's there, and she's like, "Hey, everybody, welcome to the party!" And so, so it really does. It really has focused on her and her journey, and I'm okay with that. It's not what we have seen, traditionally from Star Trek, but it has, and I think maybe that's why Discovery was so maligned in its early seasons, is that it was unconventional for Trek fans. It was not what they were used to. It was there was a lot of new territory explored, which for a show about exploring new territory shouldn't be too alienating for its fans, but it certainly was for a large segment of them. And I'll be honest, I did a rewatch of the first 4 seasons before this season started, and I'm still not a huge fan of season 1. Season 1 was pretty rough around the edges, but it definitely found its footing, and got there, especially after the time jump. After the time jump, it's almost like a quantum leap in the quality of the storytelling. The writers really found the voices for the characters, and things really started to come along. And so for me, this was a satisfying end to the series that was never my favorite series, but grew on me over time. And so I'm happy with the way that they wrapped it up. Like you said, it's Michael's story, and it's Michael's finale.
Yeah. There are 2 things you need to remember about the first season. First of all, Star Trek Next Generation's first season wasn't great either. They had at least there was no what was that called? The one where Tasha's on the planet with the
don't even
the episode that shall not be named.
Right.
Almarine. Move along.
Alan Yeah, at least there was no Alan Marine.
There you go.
But also season 1 went through showrunners like they were water. I mean, they kept firing their showrunners. I think maybe the first 2 seasons, there were showrunner issues. So there's no way you can have a cohesive, satisfying season. So it always takes Star Trek shows some time to find their footing. Season 1 is never the best season of any Star Trek show, as far as I'm concerned. Although some have gotten closer than others. But
Enterprise first season was bomb.
I did like Enterprise.
That was one of the best first seasons.
Yeah.
But the original series, I thought, had the best first season ever.
Some of the best episodes of TOS.
Oh yeah.
So there are outliers, but they're the exceptions that prove the rule. But so anyway, that's my take on the first season.
I'm gonna say that personally, seasons 1 and 2 for me, when they were in that original uniform, when we first saw that ship, that whole, even though the whole mutineer thing or whatever, that was some of the best Star Trek ever. Those first 2 seasons, I watched those first 2 seasons over and over and over. So 3 was okay. 3 was okay. 4, I don't know, the one where they were chasing around looking for whatever the thing was. 10.
No.
Okay, I love you. I'm gonna stay with you. Although that final episode was great. But another thing that Discovery didn't have that the other shows had to develop all these relationships that you're talking about and all the things that these other shows did. They didn't have the time. I mean, with Discovery, we've got. I mean, Star Trek they were doing 26 episodes, 26 1-hour episodes. That's 2.5 seasons.
Yeah.
With Discovery. So they had time to do a Geordie episode and a so-and-so episode and a this and that. These guys had 14, then it was 12, and then it was 10.
Yeah.
You know, whatever it was. It was decreasing. And still had commercials involved because, you know, it was like, I think they still were doing cuts like it was going to be on TV because it was like, it was a full hour. No, they went to more than an hour, I think, in the later ones. But they just didn't have time. They had to get all this stuff done. And I always think it's amazing how, you know, people want development and story this and plot and blah, blah, blah. And you only have 10 flipping hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true.
And the pandemic too.
Yep, and the pandemic. Yep.
It was like, man,
Yeah.
Yep.
that was difficult for them. And they got through it.
You know, moving chairs up above, you know, it was just like, wow.
Well, for me as a fan, if they were to say, okay, do you want 5 different series or do you want 2 series with traditional seasons? I would go with 2 series with traditional 24, 26 episode seasons. Absolutely. Yeah. Every day I would pick a longer season. Because you're absolutely right. When you only have 10 episodes in a season, and especially if you're doing serial storytelling, it's not a lot of time for character development, and it really does show in Discovery, probably more than a lot of the other series, because Discovery has such a big cast, and so few episodes. I mean, like, I feel like we get more character development in Lower Decks, but in Lower Decks we're really only looking at 4 or 5 characters, right. So it's easier.
Well.
Oh, pros.
Characters, they all talk so fast on Lower Decks. So.
Yeah, yes, they do.
Exactly.
The most caffeinated Star Trek ever, I think.
Oh, God, I always have to rewatch you with the closed caption.
Yeah. You know, the legacy for Discovery for me is, and it will always ring true to me, they brought Star Trek back. Right. We had another. It seems that Star Trek always has these gaps, and they brought it back. And look at all the spin-offs as a result. It was like the original series. Without it, the other shows would not exist. So,
you know,
still to this day, everybody's going back to the TOS. Well, like, look, okay,
yeah, exactly. Strange New Worlds is it may be a prequel to TOS, but it's a direct spin-off of Discovery. Starfleet Academy, the Section 31 movie that's coming. You know, all this stuff are really, it's all because of even Lower Decks, which isn't directly tied to Discovery. It all is thanks to Discovery coming on.
The success of it, and the success of launching Paramount Plus, by the way, too.
Right. Yeah. Because originally the first episode was on CBS, and the second episode premiered that same night on CBS All Access. And
it was called back then, right?
Right. It did Paramount Plus till like 2021, and then Star Trek was their flagship. So, favorite episode?
No, they planted the seeds.
Yeah, exactly. Does anybody have any favorite episodes, series, or seasons, moments, characters? Any
all 5, or out of just the last one? Out of all 5, or the last one?
Out of all 5. Just any favorites throughout the series.
Anytime they went terra firma, vaulting ambition. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Yo. You know, Isaacs comes in there. That fight, you were talking about action. That had the best fight scenes ever. I played it over and over and over because that was amazing. Whoever did that choreography. And then my other favorite moment is actually the fight to the death in the turbo lift. Oh,
yes.
Yeah. That was crazy. I loved it. I mean, Michelle Yeoh was the thing. I mean, I was so upset when they killed her off as Philippa. I could not believe we were going to have this, you know, Asian woman as the captain. I was so excited, and we were going to have Michael in there. And I said, okay, they're going to make Michael the mutineer, and they're going to kill Michelle. Like, what? Okay,
Yep.
stop. I'm going to try to hang with you. I'm going to try to hang with you. And thank God I did. But they will test a sister. They really will.
Well, and I don't know if you remember, early on, before the show ever even premiered, there was a Star Trek convention, and they brought, I can't remember his name, but they brought somebody to the Star Trek convention as a cast member of Star Trek Discovery, and he was killed in like the first or second episode, and then we saw him one more time in the Mirror Universe, and then he was killed again. So they were really playing with us. They were like, here's this guy that's going to be in Star Trek Discovery. Oh, no, he's not. Just kidding. What about you, Tony? Any favorite?
No, I think there's two things about this series that stood out to me. First, the first episode looked more cinematic than some of the movies with the original cast.
Yeah.
I mean, the first scene with Burnham and Giorgio, I mean, it was like, wow, this is like watching a movie. And I have a big screen, which certainly helps. And then to add to that was really using the technology of what they call the wall, or where they can project any image on there. It has changed every Star Trek series, and Discovery was the first one to use that. So I just like the overall quality. And man, when the Enterprise came at the end of season 1, that was like, wow, that was a big moment for me.
Yeah, I agree. How about you, Chris?
Well, there's a lot to like in Discovery. I like the character development of the characters who got development. So the lack of character development for Bridge Crew is certainly a concern, but Michael Burnham's character had a very complete arc, a very satisfying ending. Saru's character had an incredible arc from basal ganglia scaredy cat Saru to action Saru. When he is staring down a Breen dreadnought and says, "My people are predators, and I have studied you as prey," it's like goosebumps. It is like, like this is not the Saru.
Go erosion on it. That's right.
There you go.
So those characters who got development, it was really good. It was really well done. It's subtle sometimes, the way that those characters changed, and so I thought that was really good. The other thing that I thought that Discovery did better than anybody else is relationships, and T, you mentioned this earlier, but the book Burnham relationship was really well done. Very satisfying conclusion that they end up together, happy after all these years. But also the relationship between Stamets and his husband, very well done. Now they had when Culber died and came back. There was a weird disconnect that was there, but they worked through it, and they ended up in a much stronger, healthier place. And the fact that it's a same-sex couple, I know, was off-putting to a certain section of the fan base, but screw those people. Love is love, and
that's right.
And probably despite the tension that was there when Culber came back, probably the healthiest depiction of a relationship in the history of Star Trek. People may look at Troy and Riker as the great love story of Star Trek, but I don't think so. I think it's Culber and Stamets, in my opinion. Is they don't need big grand gestures. They are just two people who are in love and are there and support each other. And the addition of Adira as a child character into their relationship just added extra warmth and depth to that relationship. And so A plus writing and acting. The scenes between Wilson Cruz and I forget Stamets actor's name now, but he's great. Anthony Rapp. Yeah, I've been a fan of Anthony Rapp since Dazed and Confused. So
Yes.
he's I mean he's a really good actor, and he does that manic genius sort of thing really well. And so to see he's almost like the manic pixie dream girl as a boy. And he's got all this manic energy, and he needs this calming force to sometimes just grab him and wrap him up and say, chill out. And Wilson Cruz is great in that role. And so and their growth, where they love each other and they support each other, and sometimes they say, hey, this is something, it's dangerous and it's scary and I have to do it, but I know that you're scared for me because you love me, but we're Starfleet and we're going to do this. It's really well done, and it goes both ways. Stamets has pulled that card. Culber pulled it in the last episode, but they both have done it, and they both ultimately are like, I'm scared for you, but I love you and I support you. And so it's a really, really great, healthy relationship that I've enjoyed watching over the 5 seasons.
Hey, here.
They're two of my favorite characters, and I always wanted to talk to Wilson Cruz, and I haven't had a chance to. I did get to talk to Anthony Rapp about his off-Broadway show, which was fantastic, by the way. And he's just such a great, down-to-earth, nice person to talk to. I really enjoy him.
I scared Anthony Rapp on the cruise.
Oh, nice.
Every time I saw him, I just went, It was a big one, and I don't know why. Like every time I saw him on that cruise, I just kept going. He started laughing every time he saw me. He would just go.
That's great.
It was just like, oh my god, I'm such an idiot over here with this man. But I have to say one thing, and I'm gonna just say it and go. But everybody's talking about relationships, and I agree with everything you said, Chris. Everything you said, but. Got to go back to Deep Space Nine. If you want to talk about a show that developed relationships, that was the show. You cannot tell me that Cisco and Cassidy were not the romance of the season. Man, when my boy smelled that pillow after she left his bed.
Yeah.
That is true. Although I have to say, the best father-son relationship in all of Star Trek is Cisco.
Cisco,
no doubt.
Jaco, come on. And then you want to talk about, we saw this Stamets and Culber and Adira relationship, but we actually had that in Deep Space Nine with, Miles and Keiko and Molly. And
yes,
we had a contained family. That was the first time we saw that in Star Trek. And the head button and everything in my career, your career.
Yeah.
Deep Space Nine was way ahead of it, and that was the show. We had Worf, and we had Jadzia. I mean, we even had the Changeling and the Bajoran. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
A lot of relationships, and they were spectacular. And when that ending, they each got to have the ending at the end of that show.
Yes, they did. Yep.
That was fulfilling. So I want to just put that out there, that the show that actually really did the best relationship with Deep Space Nine, and then
that's hard to argue that.
I'm going to get in the car in a minute. They're going to be like, "You didn't say Deep Space Nine."
That was great series. At the time, it was the most diverse Star Trek series. It blew me away. The relationships were so real, and the writing. God bless Michael Piller for being a part of that, the late, great Michael Piller. And what a great, and then Ron Moore came on there. I mean, it's just an amazing group of people. And the cast is phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, I was just nothing from Discovery, because that's my jam. I just love that show. Oh, you know what? Can we just give a shout out to Commander Reese?
Yeah, I love him.
Patrick, you were doing it, boy. You took the seat. I was like, okay, yeah. He took out.
That was nice. That was nice.
Come on. I was very happy when he took out all the Breen fighters. I was like,
yes.
All of them.
Yes.
I got to credit Colin, too, for coming in and playing Raynor. I thought he did an excellent job.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I love that character.
Oh, he was great.
And the characters are great. Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Is this a nitpick question? Can I have a nitpick?
Yeah,
think that
please.
he knew that Breen commander from his time before? Because he said, did he sound like he had personal dealings with that Tala, whatever that was coming after
Paula?
Saru? Yeah, it
Um,
sounded like he knew her specifically.
I think did he say? I think
He
he
said,
said Tahala was the one he knew. I can't. I
Yeah,
don't remember.
yeah. That's yeah. She's the one that was the commander of the occupying force that was
okay.
on his
Oh,
planet.
right, right.
So yeah,
Oh,
so he had a personal beef with her.
Yeah,
ooh, I was feeling that with him. Oof.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But they even sort of resolved that a little bit. He was like, "I'm going to give them a better chance than they gave my family." So
Yep.
they sort of. I loved that they used the Breen this season. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. And really fleshed them out a little bit,
Yeah,
literally. I mean,
yeah,
before they had those funky uniforms and just a lot of gibberish. Now we got to see a little more, and I appreciated that.
yeah.
Of course, Maul gets in there and she just takes over and she's just running the whole ship. I'm like, oh my god.
Yes.
You are not a Maul fan.
No. No.
That was one of the best writing things, but I was just like, you gonna tell me? Those Breeze would have had her for lunch. They hung my boy Worf upside down. Like, listen,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
oh
and she's
Maul,
taking
this
over.
is not gonna happen. I don't care who you marry. He's dead. He's dead, Jim.
He's dead, Jim. I loved that Culber got a "I'm a doctor, not a physicist" line at
Yes.
the
Yes.
11th hour. I was so excited.
That was nice. That was nice.
What do we think? Season if they had not canceled the show, what do we think season 6 would have held? What's your fantasy season 6? What would you have liked to have seen, or what do you think they would have been doing?
You know what, Rick? I'm just gonna jump in real quick here and just say it was a pleasure meeting you, Sabrina, Tony, as always. But I have an appointment I have to head out for.
Okay.
So it was really great to see everybody. I wish I
Yeah.
could stay longer because I could talk all day, but I got a few other things I got to take care of. So it's really nice to meet you, Sabrina, Tony, as always. Have a great day, everybody.
All
And
right.
happy birthday.
Happy
Thank
birthday.
you.
That's his appointment. He's going to his birthday party.
There you go.
Right, exactly. I don't blame him.
Wow. Oh.
So what is your fantasy? I'm gonna have to leave in a little bit too because I've got a rehearsal. But what is your fantasy season 6? What do you think they would have?
Hmm. I think they would have explored the marriage between the Kelpian and the Vulcan a little more. I don't think Saru would have come back to Discovery had they done it. Uh, I think they did the Breen. Maybe come up with something new. It looks like they do season-long arcs, so they'll probably come up with something new. I don't know. I mean, it was hard to kind of top this one,
Yeah.
but yeah, come up with something. Some maybe not necessarily a chase or anything like that. Maybe a new villain or a new crisis. And also, I think we would see a little bit more of Starfleet Academy. They could bring in Holly Hunter a little bit and show you that. So yeah, that'd be interesting. But I don't know. It could have gone so many different ways. But those would have been my wishes
Yeah,
a
sure.
little bit.
Yeah. What about you, Sabrina? Any
Yeah,
thoughts?
it's so hard to think about what else. I've been I've been trained to not predict because the sisters don't like prediction
Sure.
shows. I'm like the only one. I know, you know what's gonna happen next. They were like, "No, let's just watch the show."
Just watch
There you
it.
go.
But I think if they had another season 6, I think we would have seen that development of the rest of the bridge crew.
Yeah.
And would have had some more with maybe a Reese episode and a Jitmer episode. We were getting there with her PTSD. We were getting there,
Yeah.
and we kind of dropped it. Even with Culver, he had a lot of moments. One of my favorite moments was when he was with Tig, and she she came into the infirmary, and she had a hangnail, she was trying to tell him to get out of it. It was a really cool episode, scene with the two of them,
Yeah.
Wolf Cruz and Tig. And she didn't get to. She was always doing her snark, but there was one time she wasn't being snarky, and I really enjoyed that particular scene with her. So I think we would have seen a lot more of that. I would have loved to have seen a love story between some of the other cast members.
Yeah.
I just love romance, but
Yeah, of
we
course.
had Saru. We had
Uh-huh.
Saru, but I would have loved that. I would have loved to go back to Burnham's mom and see what she was doing with the, that order
Yep.
she was in.
Uh-huh.
Anything like that would have been fine with me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I do think Maul would have shown up again. I know, Subrina, you're not crazy about that idea, but I do think they were.
No, the girl was carrying her dead boy around her wrist. I mean, I was like, this chick is out there.
Yeah, she was.
She drove me crazy, but she just kept on fighting with Burnham. I'm like, you're in this freaking timescape thing. You don't know what you're doing. She needed Burnham to figure that thing out, because she said it when she first landed in Tellado with the gun. She goes, "You solved all the riddle." And then when she got to the thing and started messing around, the first thing she did was put her hands on the triangles. I was about to slap that. I was like, "Look, you just saw this man turned into stone over there. There's a pile of stones,
Right.
and you're gonna like put your hand in the thing." I just said, "Burnham, can you just knock her out?" I would have just left her electrocuting on the thing and like, okay, you're gone. You could not have grabbed her and taken her off there at all.
Yeah.
But that's just me. But that's good writing. To get that reaction from me. That is great writing, that you're going to give me this character that I am like ready to just go, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
Discovery has a legacy of really good writing. That writer's room must have been exciting to be in as a fly in the wall. It'd be great.
I would think so.
Brandon Schultz.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yep, exactly. Well, I am going to have to go.
Thank you, Brandon, for giving us one of favorite, The Girl Who Made the Stars. There we go.
Yeah, that was great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It was hard to pick.
Moment. Yeah. Yeah, I loved the short treks. I missed them, but
yeah.
But maybe someday they'll produce some more. So anyway, I got to go because I have a rehearsal in a little bit. But first off, Subrina, where can we find you? Where can the audience find you if they wanna?
You can find us at we're on all the social media as SyFySisters.com. If I get that right, we have also our website, SyFySisters.com. We're on the. Okay, let me just.
You want to take that again?
Yeah.
I don't know where you can find us. No. We're on. You can find us on Facebook, Sci-Fi Sisters, and we're also joining the mothership. We have the Sci-Fi Sisters Book Club, and we're on TikTok, Instagram, and Threads, where we are Sci-Fi Sisters, Sci-Fi.Sisters. Okay, and you can also be a patron on Patreon.com. So you can find us all over the place, and it's Sci-Fi SyFySistas.
Sci-Fi Sisters.
Yeah.
Buddy.
And how about you, Tony? Where can people find you?
Well, I'm on Apple Podcasts as well as other platforms, and also on Instagram at Sci-Fi Talk. And there I've been posting pictures from the last few episodes of Discovery, which has been cool. So you can find me those places. And also SciFiTalk.com is also a good place to listen to episodes as well.
And that is SciFiTalk.
Yes.
Not spelled like the Sisters, spelled like
no, not that kind of sci-fi. The old-fashioned kind.
You could also find us on Trek Geeks podcast network too. Don't forget the.
Oh, nice. That's a great network.
Oh my God, it's so great. All those guys over there. We love being part of that family.
That's nice.
That's terrific. Well, Subrina Wood, Tony Tellado, thank you so much for joining me. This was so much fun.
Yes.
Thanks for asking me. I was very happy when I got the email. I'm like, oh yeah, cool.
Sabrina, you are welcome anytime. On several episodes, you're welcome to join us whenever you want. Just shoot me an email and be like, "Are you doing it this week?" And if we are, I'll be like, "Come aboard." So
okay,
We would love to have that. So thank you very much. You both have written a couple of really great guest posts for us as well.
Thank
So you can look for that at dailystartreknews.com. And we'll see you next week. Thank you both very much. This has been great.
Welcome.
Thank
All right.
you.
Bye.
Pleasure as
Take care,
always.
guys. All right. Bye.
All right. Bye bye now.